a lot of folks are up in arms because they think they're going to be competing with them from a brokerage standpoint, like on listings. I think that their play is probably more on the rentals. I think they're trying to become your property manager.
So the big question is this: how do most agents who don't have access to the secrets that the top agents in our industry hoard to themselves grow and prosper in today's real estate environment? That's the question. And this video podcast is the answer. I'm Pat Hyben, and welcome to Real Estate Rockstars.
Welcome back, Real Estate Rockstars, to this week's State of the Market. This is Aaron Amuchastegui, and I have back with me again my good friend Chad Corbett, coming from the East Coast. Chad, how you doing, man?
Doing well, man. Glad to be here.
Glad to be there. And what state are you talking to us from today?
I'm in Virginia again. We had a slight detour to Aspen, but back in Virginia.
Yes, Roanoke, Virginia, out there. On East Coast time, as we get to go through the news of the day. We did get to hang out in Aspen a week ago. That was fun, and now I'm back down in Texas. You're back out over there, and today we get to talk about the news. You know, as we jump into this, there is a really funny thing that happened to me just 2 days ago that I thought this is actually completely newsworthy, and I knew we were gonna go over this. So 2 days ago, I get a call from a Zillow sales rep, and they said, "Hey, Aaron, right now you've got 35 active rental listings with us, and we want you to know that we have a new policy. So this has always been a free service. You've always been able to list houses for rent for free on Zillow,
right? And
now you can't. We are no longer letting people list houses for rent for free. Now they're only doing it certain states at a time. They're going to ramp it out and launch it everywhere, but they haven't done it in Arizona yet." But now they're doing it in Texas. And they said, so as a result of that, we're going to charge you, I think it was like $1.10 or $1.20 per property per day that it's listed on Zillow if you want to have a listing on Zillow. So then the guy does the little calculation. He goes, and so we can do a 1-month contract for this, or we can do a year contract, and I can lock you into that lower rate because next month we're going to increase it a little bit. And he said, so your bill for the first month is going to be like $968. And all I could say was like, okay, like, yes, please sign me up. Like part of me was, obviously disappointed, distraught, like, yeah, the businesses were like that. But it also brought this whole thing of when you have a free service like Zillow had, and you absolutely crush it. They have crushed the rental market. I mean, they have all sorts of stuff that they do. But one of the things they do is when people are looking for rent, they check on Zillow for houses listed for rent. And they go find house listed for rent. They reply back to us. All the people that are building all of the automated showing software, all of them automate their stuff and push their listings to Zillow. So we were paying for those services, and now Zillow said, hey, they want to get paid too. So I also had to admire their whole decision. So like in one instance, Zillow, I don't know how much money they made yesterday in the state of Texas, or what they're going to make today when they launched that. But they took this free service. They've been so good at that. They've been the category king. They made it so good that we built our business around it. We couldn't say no to it. And part of me thinks about the idea of, Facebook and Instagram someday could say, hey, you know what? We've been free, but we're going to start charging you $5 a month or $10 a month.
LinkedIn did it.
Yeah, LinkedIn did it. That's exactly right. So what had you heard that was going on with Zillow, or can you think?
I actually didn't know that. So it's interesting. You're more from the investor world, and like I think the majority of your career has been spent there. The majority of mine's been spent in the brokerage side. So what's happening now with Zillow's? They've always been a disruptive company in a good way. In some good ways, but brokers have been up in arms for years about what happened. They basically created they focus. What's interesting about their model, they focus on providing real value to the marketplace that's absent, and getting people addicted to that, and then finally finding a way to monetize it. And obviously we all know how they did that in brokerage. What's really interesting now is it's the investors' turn to be impacted by the disruption. And whether it's their iBuyer program or whether it's something like this, like, kind of now how the brokerage community has felt for the last 15 years, right? But there's also two camps. Like in the brokerage world, it's like, oh, Zillow's great because, similar to your argument, it supports my business. It's, they've created these amazing tools. And then the other people who are, fighting that progress and saying, well, it sucks because, they convinced us to give up our listings, and now they're trying to sell us back our own buyer leads off of the listings we gave them. And it's I expect that it will probably gain traction. Most, usually they're smart enough, they're strategic enough that they make sure people are well addicted before they make a move to monetize. And look how quickly you closed, right? Like you you rolled over because you're like, well, it's more disruptive for me to have to re-systematize that in my business and find a new way than it is to just pay you for the value I've been getting.
I would have to change everything. We'd have to change everything about the way that we do it. Yeah, it was one of those things where you were like, yeah, you got me. They called me. It took them 15 years, though. I just had to look up when did Zillow start, because I was thinking for as long as I can remember, Zillow's been around. Yeah. And so since 2004, Zillow has let people list houses for rent for free. And so then the other side of that goes, and one of the things the guy told me, I mean, I think he was used to people fighting him a lot more on it, but one of the things he told me is like, hey, we've been giving this free service for a long time, and now we need to be able to invest in the product to make it better. And so now we're going to turn that on. And and that didn't make me feel any different. I mean, sure, that's part of it, but the idea of like, hey, this has been free for 15 years, so we've got a right to charge for it. Totally. And I think it's a great business model, like that freemium business model, or that free forever. I know that a lot of companies out there probably would not have waited 15 years to start charging for a service that other people were making money on. I guess that's the other thing too. I don't see them charging users right now, individual people looking for houses, individual people looking for renters. They first went after the agents, and the agents for ads, because the agents can afford to pay for the ads because they're doing that. Now they're going toward the listings. And who knows, maybe depending on how many listings you have, there's different programs. But man, I thought that was pretty cool.
So they're making bigger moves kind of quietly. Like they are now. So by the end of, it's been a few days since I read the article. I think it's by the end of 2020, they'll hold a broker's license in all 50 states. So at that point, they could be in a position to be the property manager. And I think that's probably the route they're going. I don't think they want to compete directly with brokerage for actual sales. I think that, and this is just my opinion based on what little bit I read about it, but I think they're probably taking that property management angle. So we already have the tenant's attention. They're using our app to find the houses. Why don't you just let us manage it for you? So I think as they've seen the opportunity in the real estate investor space, they've caused a lot of disruption. They've made a lot of money in the brokerage space. I think they're just coming into that phase of their business where they're like, okay, so phase 2 is let's go after the investor business. So they are getting brokerage licenses in all 50 states. I think a lot of folks are up in arms because they think they're going to be competing with them from a brokerage standpoint, like on listings. I think that their play is probably more on the rentals. I think they're trying to become your property manager.
Yeah. They have those property management tools that build in and they've been doing a lot of the different things. And really, they had a pretty good property management tool 6 months ago, but I didn't want to sign up for it because I was like, hey, I'm not going to pay the $40 a month for this. And now maybe this is a way they're like, you know what? Everybody will need our other property management tool, because it also is going to have pay service, paying rent. So maybe this is just a step to get there. I just did a quick search. There's almost 18,000 properties for rent in Texas right now that are on there. So you've got,
and it was $1.10 each.
$1.10 each. So they just increased their revenue by, I don't know, $200,000 a day.
$1.10 each per day.
Yep.
Oh wow.
$1.10 each per day. Yeah. So $200,000 a day. The Zillow is going to be making in the great state of Texas now. It's an extra $6 million a month, and their value just went boom. I should have just hung up and bought stock, and now it's probably too late.
Do the math. It's worth every single dollar. That's a title of a comment that I got on my certified listing agent course from Rebus University. It's from Bill Reeg. This is what Bill says. Bill says, looking to take your listing presentation to the next level? I've closed 100 appointments since I took Pat's certified listing agent course. 5 appointments, 5 new clients, 60 days. Boom. Do the math. It's worth every single dollar. Thanks, Bill. But listen, guys, I am offering this to you if you haven't already taken it, because so many brokers and teams make their agents take it before they do a single listing appointment. But if you haven't taken it, you can go to rebusuniversity.com and get it now. Now, here's the thing. For 30 days, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you that course. I'm going to give you the buyer agent course, which teaches you how to close every single serious buyer that calls on the phone or emails. The certified team agent course is taught by Jeff Cohn, one of America's top agents, on how to build a team from zero to hero to hundreds and hundreds of units every year, step by step. It's like a 12-hour course, plus 7 other courses. Yes, you heard that right. All for a measly $127 a month. If you were to go to Rebus University and buy these courses individually, it costs you over $10,000. But today, if you go to futureofrealestatetraining.com, that's futureofrealestatetraining.com, you'll learn what Bill Reed did, which is how to close 100% of the listing appointments you go on. Quite impressive. And you'll learn all the other incredible details provided in the 11 5-star courses that are offered. Yeah, it's like all you can eat bazaar. You go in now and you pay $127 a month. If you can eat all 11 courses in 1 month, that's all you pay is $197. This is a bargain, guys. Get it now. Futureofrealestatetraining.com. Hey, Real Estate Rockstars, this is Pat Hyben, and before we jump back into today's content, I want to tell you about an extraordinary offer from an extraordinary company. I'm talking about My Outdesk. If you haven't heard of My Outdesk, basically they're a virtual assistant company, a VA company that specializes in virtual assistants for real estate agents. Yeah, I'm talking about transaction coordinators, marketing assistants. I'm talking about ISAs, inside sales agents that prospect thousands and thousands of seller leads and buyer lead follow-ups. I mean, these guys are trained in this stuff specifically. You're not using a company that doesn't know or understand real estate sales. 4 out of 5 of the top teams in the US use My Outdesk for their virtual assistants. And because I know the owner, Daniel Ramsey, I've known him for over a decade, and I know how awesome and incredible this company is and how it saves agents thousands and thousands of dollars every single week and makes them thousands and thousands of more every single week, we're going to give you a $400 coupon off of your first month of a virtual assistant and give you a free book entitled Scaling Your Business with Virtual Professionals. So you can read it and look into it before you decide anything. It's called Scaling Your Business with Virtual Professionals. And you can get it real easy. All you got to do is text the word Hyben, H-I-B-A-N, to 31996. That's H-I-B-A-N to 31996. And download your free book, Scaling Your Business with Virtual Professionals. And don't forget to mention also that you get a $400 discount, which will give you a coupon for that when you download the book. Thank you, guys, and I hope you enjoy and make a ton of money using My Outdesk.
Let's jump into something else. Hopefully you liked my personalized real estate news that affected me this week, and I think keep an eye out there. I mean, for me, that is big headline news. Zillow ended one of their free services and converted it to a paid service. So on Inman, I was just pulling up articles yesterday, and one of the things that comes up, it says Vacasa founder stepping down, former OpenTable chief to serve as interim CEO. And when I look at this, it says vacation rental giant has appointed former OpenTable CEO. So what do you know about Vacasa? Is that a company you've been following? You know much about them?
Yeah, so I see them at, they're at NAR. They have a pretty good presence in the brokerage community, and they're one of the first companies. I think Vacasa and Verolio are the two I'm most familiar with. A friend of mine founded Verolio, but they're both competing to kind of be the Zillow. I guess what I would say is, the way I look at it, at least, I'm not going to speak for their model, but I kind of see it as, CoStar or LoopNet is for commercial real estate. They are for vacation rental real estate. So they aggregate data. They create that that kind of, if you're to merge Zillow and LoopNet together and have it just be about vacation rental investing, that's kind of what the platforms are. And obviously, anytime you're one of the first, one of the startups in a space, it's difficult, and it, movement's required. I read this article. I don't know him personally, but I think it's probably a matter of a smart CEO getting out of his own damn way. He held his board seat, but he did step down and give the reins to somebody that, probably isn't as emotionally involved. And that, probably a big part of that's probably he may be more talented at raising capital, attracting capital. And I think he made a smart move. There's no, everyone's trying to take their position in that industry. It's a relatively new thing. Just like we said, Zillow took 15 years to really find their stride. And, Airbnb is relatively new in the world of real estate. And
is this a competitor of Airbnb and VRBO?
No, it's not really a competitor. It's more of it just like Zillow is not necessarily a competitor to an MLS. It's supplemental, right? So they can support it. So they're aggregating. They do a lot of different things. One of the things that I love is when they actually list something, they list it as an investment property. So when you look at a property, you see the rental details, what's your ADR, your average daily rate, and what's the gross scheduled income, and what was the occupancy, and so things as a commercial real estate investor, things you want to see. Where if you go to Realtor.com or Zillow or anywhere else, you have the typical fields that are consumer-based fields, right? They're not necessarily presented in an investment format. So like if you go to LoopNet and look at a commercial listing, you're going to have more financially driven information. Where if you go to Realtor.com, it's all based on fluff and, it's the specs of the house and some great emotional language around why you're going to fall in love with it. And, these platforms, they take that vacation rental listing, and instead of trying to force it into a traditional listing platform, they present it to people who are specifically looking for vacation rental investments, and they present it in such a way that you can underwrite it pretty quickly. You can take a look and say, okay, that makes sense or that doesn't. And I think there's a lot of, I don't think either Vacasa or Verolio has really gotten into where they know they're headed. It's a matter of, raising capital and getting things built and moving into the next stage. But ultimately, I think, these could be, they could be the Zillows of that short-term rental world. And, they're finding different ways to provide value. One of my favorite things about Rolio, they have a heat map based on the short-term rental friendliness, for the lack of a better term. But, they basically have red zones where you're like, where they're really cracking down on vacation rental. And then there's a green zone. So you can kind of target in on, like, you can hone in on a market that makes sense to you, then start looking at houses, then network with other investors. So it's got some components of like bigger pockets or connected investors, some of the functionality of like LoopNet or CoStar, and then like a UI, like a really good or good UX, like Zillow would have. It's very simple and sleek. So I think this is probably a smart move for them, like to get just a fresh bud in the CEO seat on that bus.
I'm gonna keep a closer eye of Vacasa, see what they're doing. It said last year in July they bought. I mean, they must be doing well. They bought Wyndham Destination Vacation Rentals last year. It was a $162 million, or Wyndham Vacation Rentals was a company under the Wyndham brand. And Vacasa bought it for $162 million 6 months ago, with the idea they were going to be adding 23,000 vacation rentals to their portfolio. So they are doing big things. It makes sense after you're doing big things, acquisitions like that they're bringing on a new CEO and new people. And who knows, I guess taking the people from other businesses that have done big things before, and taking the guy that was working over at OpenTable. I mean, OpenTable is a business that never started. What a simple idea. And so maybe he'll be able to do the same in vacation rentals. I
have to say, like the last paragraph I was just looking at. So this is a quote: on track to exceed $1 billion in gross bookings, in excess of $500 million in net revenue in 2020.
Yeah.
It's a pretty profitable business, eh?
Yeah, that's everybody goes, yeah, that's something I want to be a part of. That's how you get a CEO from OpenTable to come over.
Yeah, really.
Well, big news for us to be watching with that. More state of the market type news. So so last week on MSN Money, it says an article came out that I sent over to you. It says even the middle class is having trouble paying rent now. And which this is kind of not what we've been hearing. It's been seen like, hey, the market's good, life's good, everybody's been crushing it. And it says being able to pay for housing along with the rest of one's everyday expense is a challenge for many Americans, increasingly, and includes middle income Americans. New report from the Joint Center of Housing of Harvard University calculate 10.9 million renters spent more than 50% of their income on housing in 2018. So, and they said that's also, so 1 in 4 renters. So 1 in 4 renters in the U.S. spending more than 50% of their income on housing. Have you noticed that out there? If you think about what is that? What do you think about that news?
I have, and it's interesting. There's such good news and such good market sentiment, and as far as sales go, as home ownership. And if you look, I mean, home ownership is really affordable thanks to interest rates being pressured down. But what's not happening is you see price appreciation. We talked about this the last episode you and I did together. 75% appreciation. I think it was over a 10-year period, but it's this huge appreciation. But that comes with lowered interest rates, and actually, it's cheaper to own a home than it would have been, just 3 years ago because rates have come down. In a lot of markets. With rent, what we've seen is inflation has driven those prices. Like rent prices have just been increasing. I think coming off of like 2008, they haven't really cooled down in most markets. They just keep going higher and higher. So if you look at the affordability index to buy a home, it's actually quite affordable right now. But the problem is most people, their wages haven't grown and rents have just continued to just skyrocket. But their wages haven't kept pace. So it's becoming harder and harder for them to afford what they're renting. And because their wages aren't growing, it's almost impossible for them, because their debt to income ratio, they can't get qualified for a mortgage. So there's so much good news out there. I've kind of looked at this. I've seen people struggle through this. And there's so much good news on the real estate market. But when people are talking about that, they're talking about home ownership. When you look at the affordability, and like I said, I spend quite a bit of time in Toronto, it's really bad. Like people are spending, over 50% of their income on rental housing in a lot of major MSAs. So it's a real problem. I think a lot of the good news overshadows it, but for the average American, it's pretty tough to get by. I think average, if you look across the country and as a blended set, it's like on average, Americans are spending 37% of their gross pay on rent. I mean, you think about that as a family with 4 kids, like you're spending, over a third of your income just on rent before you get to anything else. It's tough to get by, right?
Yeah. What are you gonna do for the other ones? Well, 1 in 4 renters, more than 50% of their income on housing. And for agents out there listening, there's got to be some opportunity there for a win-win. I mean, we've always seen kind of the ad or the pitch that says, hey, now, you can buy a house for less than you're renting for. I saw a slogan the other day that said, you're paying somebody, you're already paying a mortgage, but right now it's your landlord's, right? You're paying your landlord's mortgage, not your own. So so take that as, I think that is an important kind of state of the market, not the same news we've been talking about lately. We've been talking about home prices, increases, things like that. Saw that we had such a kind of a big hit on affordability for rents. And I think that's important for us to be talking about too. So try to, so realtors out there, find your local market.
Tribeofmillionaires.com. Guys, write that down. Rockstar Nation got a free special offer for you. Now, I've just written a book, and it's just been published. Co-authored it with David Osborne, who's been on this show multiple times. If you don't know David, he is one of the top execs at Keller Williams Real Estate, was personally mentored for the last 2 decades by Gary Keller himself, and he's in all kinds of businesses. His bio and explanation and everything is in this book. But anyways, David and I got together. We decided to write a book. We called it Tribe of Millionaires. And I guarantee you it's going to change your life. To find out more, just go to tribeofmillionaires.com. We're going to give it to you absolutely free. Only thing we ask in return is, of course, number 1, you pay the shipping. Not a big deal. But number 2, that you go on Amazon and write us a review. We're really looking to to get an incredible amount of reviews. And because of that, we're giving this book away for free. Go to tribeofmillionaires.com today. Rockstar Nation, thanks so much for listening. Don't forget to stay to the end, where our guests will be offering a free gift. As you know, all of our guests offer a free gift, and all of these gifts can be found on the Agent Success Toolbox. You could find that by going to hibandigital.com/toolbox, or simply texting the word toolbox to 444-999. That's toolbox to 444-999. I am going to put today's free gift in today's show notes. But if you want all of them, including gifts from most of our guests that have come on the show, just go to the Agent Success Toolbox.
Chad, we got time for one more piece of news.
I want to, before we move on, I want to, like, instead of just, I'd like to leave you guys with at least a thought, but maybe get your gears turning. If you're in real estate and you have people who want to own a home but aren't yet qualified and they have to be renters, if you educate yourself on a lease with option to purchase, you can put that, like, I have a program where I had a 95% success rate with lease options. Nationwide, it's about a 15% success rate, but it's people putting the wrong people in the wrong properties. But if someone has all the everything there that they want to be a homeowner, but they have that roadblock of financing right now, what I do, get them over to your mortgage broker, figure out, like, put the red flags up. Why don't they qualify specifically? Put them into professional credit repair, get them into a lease and have a separate option to purchase. And then they don't have to move again, and they can get credit for, or they can, the money, the fee that they put down, the option fee they put down can become their down payment. And I had a lot of success with this, where when somebody called me and they couldn't qualify, I didn't say, well, let me know when the lender says you're good. I found a way. I held myself accountable, and I found a way to get them into a home that they loved. And a lot of times, especially if you've got deals that you've reduced the price and it's just still not moving, this is a great tool to get sellers out that have marginal or thin equity. You can get them, like, because while you're getting your buyer prepared for financing, you're also paying down the principal on the mortgage. So a lot of times, if you have a thin deal over a 12 to 24 month period, you can solve two problems for two clients and create transactions. And I think a lot of realtors are quick to just turn and say, it's a numbers game, let's go on to the next one. Where if you just think creatively and you understand creative real estate solutions, you can create a win-win for both of those people. So with rents climbing like this, people don't have to keep going from rental to rental to rental and not being able to buy, but they do need a professional that can step in and help them navigate that, because it's not exactly simple for someone who's not experienced in real estate. So rather than just talk about it and leave you with nothing, I would encourage you, if you're listening to this and you think, wow, that's hitting close to home, it's like that in my town. Think about the last 10 buyers you had to say, sorry, you don't qualify for financing, and the last 10 sellers that you said, sorry, we can't drop the price unless we do a short sale. You can create that transaction by raising your own skill set.
Yeah, that is such a good point, Chad. I mean, we got to get you to record one of the courses over in Rebus over that. I mean, that was one of the things you and I were talking about maybe a couple months ago, was that you had talked about that you were doing that as a business plan, or you had done it previously, right? That it's not something in your markets, it's not really there, but that idea of helping buyers get qualified to buy, and or finding that win-win for sellers that are like, hey, let's do a rent to own type thing. And in rent to owns of the past, at least what I always heard of rent to owns, it felt like it was an unsafe thing, because the people buying the houses like never won. But when you're talking about, you got a 95% success rate of these people getting to do it, man, I cannot wait to hear more about that, about how to get those, especially when we look at those different numbers, because now you're taking that pitch and you're saying, hey guys, your rent's 50% of your income. You could buy a house so much bigger. And they go, well, I'm not qualified because of this and this and this. And you're like, well, you are paying 50%, so let's see what we can work out. And you're telling us there's probably some solutions out there. Well, yeah,
and just another idea, just if the lease with option to purchase, if that goes over your head, I mean, imagine going into go find a list of free and clear assets. So go find a list of homeowners that haven't sold in the last 8 years. My light's going dead. But find a list of homeowners with 100% equity, call them, list the property with owner financing, and then go get your buyer in there. And there's tons of buyers out there like this, tons of renters out there that could be buyers if they just had the right leadership from a real estate professional. So they have a down payment. They can afford first month, last month's rent. They're spending 50% of their income. So they can, over a few months, they can save up a down, what they save not paying in rent. They can, if you could even work out a payment agreement. But there's a lot of people out there with free and clear assets. I own a company that specializes in probate, and 70% of 80% of American senior citizens own real estate. 70% of it, or between 68 and 71%, it fluctuates, is free and clear. So there's lots of people out there with tons of equity that have extra houses they don't necessarily need right now. You can go find the inventory, get it listed with owner financing in place, and then take it to these renters who are paying 30-40% more than they would be paying on an owner finance mortgage. And then get them over to your attorney, show them how to protect it with a first position mortgage, and you created the transaction out of thin air, and you took somebody out of that rental pool that's not gaining any wealth, and you took a seller, and you're going to maximize the equity that they'll get from that asset. So there's lots of things like that you can do to really step up and make a difference in what we're calling a housing crisis. We all like to talk about it and bitch about it, but what are we doing about it? And I think as a brokerage community, we still have room to step up and provide value that the marketplace isn't used to getting, because typically it's only a few investors here and there that do it. But the better we educate ourselves, the bigger difference we can make in our communities.
Man, how can we follow that? Chad, I love the challenge there that you gave everybody on how do we not only just take the news and hear it, how do we do something about it? That's going to wrap up today's week of State of the Market. Hopefully you guys had a ton of fun and learned a lot, and maybe we challenged you and came up with some different ideas of how you can not only take the fun, interesting news at the beginning, but how you can take some of that news to better your business and your career out there. Go ahead. If you like this one, we need lots of reviews. Go give us some more reviews online. Come find us on Instagram at RE Rockstars. We have a YouTube page, Real Estate Rockstars Radio. You can find, Chad at All the Leads. You can find me on Instagram at all sorts of other places too. So hybendigital.com. Make sure you subscribe, tell a friend, get us a good review, and we'll talk to you again next week. Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Rockstar Nation, thank you for listening to Real Estate Rockstars. Listen, I need a favor. If you find this free content helpful, if you find our downloadable items from each guest helpful, please, I need you to pull out your pointing finger. Yes, the one finger that points at people, and hit subscribe. Yes, subscribe. The more subscribers we get, the better we look in the ratings, and the easier it is to get guests like Robert Kiyosaki, Barbara Corcoran, all the players that are on $1 million listing in the different cities. All that stuff makes it easier the more subscribers we get. So please subscribe. And listen, there's a lot of places you can leave comments. There's a lot of places you can like. We're on Facebook. We have an Instagram page. Instagram page is I am Pat Hyben. The Facebook is Real Estate Rockstars Radio. Feel free to leave us comments there. The most popular form of commenting seems to happen on YouTube. Yes, for whatever reason, it's a very open environment. So just go to YouTube and go to Real Estate Rockstars Radio. Leave us comments there. Some of them we will read on the show. We love your feedback. So thanks, guys, and I hope you are having a great day. Oh, and also, listen, if you're going to subscribe and you haven't already left a review on iTunes, please do that too. Have a great day, and thanks so much, Rockstar Nation. I really appreciate you.